everybody, and you're very welcome to another episode of the Cuppa Culture. Well, this week Helena is back in the conversation with us. Helena is our artistic director here at South Tipp Arts Centre, and this week we were joined by James Horan, sculptor, who's mixing it up, boom boom, by taking his work in a different direction during this lockdown period. James would be most familiar to people for his sculpture work. He's a stone carver. That's what he's been doing for years. But since the lockdown started, James has been exploring paint as a medium for his work.
I suppose the reason that we were thinking of talking with you, James, was because obviously you've shown at the South Tipp Arts Centre before with Denis, and It was just that lately, whether it's that I'm paying more attention, but you seem to be really active on social media and Instagram, and all of a sudden this person I've known that only carves stone has started painting and doing all this kind of stuff. So I suppose I was just really interested to see
where it all comes from.
Yeah, what kicked it off? What happened? And was it just the pandemic, or what was it?
Instagram is good. I only really use Instagram because it kind of simultaneously posts to Twitter and Facebook if you wanted to. So I find that good, because otherwise it's just too much of a time drain.
Yeah.
But before the pandemic came along, I was thinking about starting to paint again. I haven't painted in nearly 20 years, so I kind of said, well, I'll give it a go. And I started, and I was kind of enjoying it, and then the pandemic hit and all the shows got cancelled, and I have a pile of sculpture around, and I just kind of thought there's no point in me breaking my back with stone and the effort that goes into it and months of work at a time when it's just going to be stacked up in my house. And I kind of said, right, so I kind of made a deal with myself that by the end of this lockdown and pandemic stuff, I would be proficient with oil paint. So I won't dare say good, but proficient. I'll be able to, I've figured out how to use paint again, and I'm getting there. I'm enjoying it as well, and it's so immediate. The stone carving can be take so long. You could be looking at 6 weeks to 2 months to do a piece. And if you're not careful, or if I'm not careful, the ideas get a bit old. They feel a bit old by the time I've done them, and I just feel that comes through in the work sometimes. You got to keep it as fresh as possible. So
yeah,
the painting is lovely for that. I can just, you sit down and do a painting in either a few hours or a few days, depending on the size and what it is, etc. So I'm kind of really enjoying that change.
Yeah, you seem to have taken to it, as they say, like a duck to water. Like you seem to, I was just there going, wow, for someone who hasn't painted in 20 years, like you're fairly proficient.
Yeah, well, I mean, because I've been a professional artist for all that time, I still draw a little bit, and so the drawing part wasn't going to be that much of a challenge to get back into the swing of. Even the colour, it's a trick for a while. I mean, I'm still a complete novice and still making so many mistakes with colour mixing and all that. But it's there from years back, and you kind of try and remember it. You look at the cheap, silly colour wheels and hope for the best. And, you play around and experiment. And I suppose the pandemic has given me the chance to do that. The lockdown, I can now sit and play and not be concerned about the show deadline or the blah, blah, blah coming up. Well, except for the show deadline that's coming up in a month. But other than that, we're fine. So you can kind of mess around a bit more. I suppose there's a bit of freedom in the lockdown in a strange way.
Do you find, like you are very active on Instagram, as we were just saying there, do you find that that drives you on a bit, like the interaction that you get back from people, or, their kind of encouragement, or even just your head?
One of the things I find about Instagram is that you got, I suppose, a whole group of people on your fingertips that you can just send them a message. Some of the painters I know, for example, I've been bothering them with simple questions about stuff that I'm sure they dealt with when they started 20 years ago, and everything from how they prime canvases to clean brushes to what oil paints they use and all of that kind of stuff. And you can just send somebody a message. Most of them I would have known, and they'd know, like Helena knew that I'm a stone carver, and they're kind of thinking, what do you do? And put the paintbrushes down. But it's good to have that there, that kind of group of people at your fingertips, and you can put a painting up online and say, what's up with that? How do I fix it? And usually somebody will answer, be it by message or comment or something. So it's a very useful tool that way. The likes and shares and all that stuff, I mean, they're the same as all Facebook thing, every other social media. It's kind of, if you're going to take heed of that, then you have to take heed of the people who think it's crap as well. So it's just, you take it with a pinch of salt. It is great that people like the work, but at the same time, your own voice is the most important one on that. If I'm happy with it, then it's great. And if I'm not happy with it, then it needs to be fixed.
And one thing I really liked, and I said it to Emer when we were discussing contacting you about the podcast, was that I really liked the honesty, like that you're just, everything you're doing, you're kind of putting it up almost and kind of going, right, well, give me some pointers here, lads. What do you think? You know, and even some of it's kind of funny, like some of it, like the paintings you did of the images from the internet of the girls with the guns, and that they're kind of feeding directly into the work you would have been interested in when you were carving.
Exactly, yeah. So I was joking with a painter friend of mine recently that it didn't take long for me to arrive with that babies with guns, you know. I mean, it took me 15 years to get there with stone carving, and here I am a couple of months into painting, and I'm already starting a series of paintings about, you know, kids with guns and child soldiers and all of that, you know, really popular subject.
Lovely uplifting subject matter for the work.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I suppose because I have a boy, it's there, you're thinking about it, the dangers of it, and then you hear about all the kind of atrocities in America and other places, child soldiers, stuff going on all over the world. So it's kind of, I suppose it plays in your mind when I have a toddler myself, it plays in my mind, that kind of the innocence of it, then the innocence removed with all of that. So that subject seems to have stuck a lot longer than a lot of subjects have, you know.
Yeah, and you were saying, you mentioned there briefly that you have a deadline coming up for an exhibition. Are you doing something online or?
No, I'm really happy. It's kind of light at the end of the tunnel. The Ballymaloe sculpture exhibition is going ahead, and they're opening in July. They're opening the start of July. So I thought I had loads of time, and I was talking to, it's Richard Scott runs it, and he kind of rang me and he said, yeah, it's going ahead in July. And I was thinking, great, you know, I've got a couple of months. He said, yeah, so get it down as soon as you can. I'm citing work now. So,
oh, wow.
So I've got to kind of get stuck in and finish something. So
great. And are there going to be a couple of hours involved in that? Because I know they tend to change every year and mix it up.
There's usually, like, I mean, I think at one point he had kind of 50 artists in it, but I think it's usually somewhere around 25 or 30. I'm not sure whether he's scaled it right down this year or whether he's going ahead the normal size or not. I was just so excited that there's actually a show coming up, you know. It's been months since I've been in galleries, so it'd be great to be shown again. And that's the kind of, I suppose that's one of the things I love about being an artist is the exhibitions, the group exhibitions, where you get to see your work among your contemporaries. You see your work, especially like a sculpture show like that, where you get to see your sculpture in context with other sculptures in a beautiful setting, and you get to meet the other artists and all that kind of stuff. So it's all good fun, you know. So it's a healthy self-criticism when you're lining your own work up with others and seeing how it, you know, does it fit in, or have you made a mistake, you know.
Say in terms of the painting, James, do you see that as something that, you know, given the immediacy of it and how fast you find it compared to obviously carving stone takes a long time, is that something you could see yourself maybe exhibiting at some point?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know when or what, but I definitely at some point. I mean, I know quite a few painters who are just inspiring. They're brilliant. The work they do is amazing. And when you see that and you can try to start comparing yourself to that, and it's hard, I think, for me, because I've been a professional artist and I've been exhibiting for so long, that when you find yourself at the bottom of the ladder again, starting again, it's hard when you're comparing yourself to your friends who have been at it for 15, 20, 25 years. And they're doing things like, for me, figurative painting, observational painting, has come relatively easily. Obviously, as I said, I'm just starting, but I still find work like Tom Clement, for example, to be some sort of black magic. It's just colour, you know, colour against colour to make beautiful composition and amazing things that, you know, blow me away. And there's a few other artists like that just, their work isn't based on observation per se, and it's just amazing work. It's just, you know, gorgeous composition and colour and use of paint. And I'm interested in a material's value for itself. In this, the way I carve direct, so I don't really do drawings or models. I just start carving, and the material informs what I'm doing. And I think I like that about those painters as well. It seems like that they're using what's there, which is the primary element of colour and the texture of paint or canvas and that kind of thing, to inform what they're doing. So that might be the destination, but we'll see. At the moment, it's just a bit of fun. And I like the idea of exhibiting, but when, I don't know.
Yeah, and there's also, I think as well, there's a trick to be maybe had here, which maybe I shouldn't give away. But I know a lot of artists that are dabbling in things they don't normally dabble in, and that maybe that people's work will be shown in that context, almost as if there's these experiments that happen during this time, and that maybe in 6 months' time they'll be kind of going, you'll go back to your stone carving and abandon the painting and go, I like this too much, and that it's not necessarily a kind of a
career change. It's not a permanent change.
Yeah. And I keep thinking of a show we had in the Fenton back in the day, and Catherine Boyd curated it. It was her idea, and it was called The Raw, Not the Cooked. And it was a load of work that was kind of almost either preparatory work that people had or work they didn't regard as being their main practice. But that told a lot about the kind of what they liked. So that there's, there might be something in that for people going forward, where a lot of artists who are dabbling in things they wouldn't normally dabble in.
I suppose that's the freedom of it. That's the freedom of it. You this time, because there is no exhibition or deadline thing that I'm working to, what I'm doing is just the kind of experimentation and play that I think is kind of required in order to move on from what you're doing. Sometimes I've found over the years, if I get stuck in a cycle of exhibition after exhibition after exhibition, or even if it's great, where you get commissions, you can never complain about that, but kind of get just caught up on nearly not repeating the same ideas, but you're never really thinking about progressing more. I find myself, I get so tied up in the making of work, and I suppose that's with stone and wood carving and things like that.
Factory almost.
Yeah, kind of, because the idea is, a few days, and then there's a month of making, and then in order to get an exhibition made, you're talking about 6 to 8 months work, and then you just get caught up in it, and it's great, and I love doing it, and have done and always will. But it's also nice to take a step back and just paint a still life of a wind-up Frankenstein, and if it takes 2 hours and 2 or 3 hours, who cares? And maybe it turns out great and you love it for whatever reasons, and, but you can paint over it if you don't like it and all of that kind of stuff. And there's a great freedom to that, and I think that's what I'm really enjoying at the moment. And like I said, at some point it'd be great to exhibit paintings, maybe even alongside some sculptures as well. Who knows? But for now, it's just me trying to be able to paint. We'll worry about what happens with them afterwards. I might be giving them away as presents for the next 10 years. So unwanting donors.
And look, James, the plus side is at least they don't take up as much space as a large sculpture. There's always a plus.
Yeah, exactly. And I'd say my house is kind of getting a bit full at the moment. Just before the lockdown, I had gotten a whole lot of work back for a couple of viewings and stuff like that, and I'd taken them back on. The plan was they were all going back out to a gallery within the week or two, and then of course everything shut down. So I've got, I think, 9 sculptures in the house, 9 of my own sculptures in the house, and then there's a pile of little paintings lying around now as well. So
little factory down there you have.
If people wanted to find out more about your work or have a look at what you're up to, where's the best place to find you?
At the moment, it's Instagram, I suppose, is the best place to find me. I have a website, and it's a good website. I do keep it updated with sculpture work, but the painting is still so new that I've kind of kept it off the website. It's just on Instagram as a kind of I suppose it's almost a throwaway thing, isn't it? Because nobody remembers what you posted last week anyway. It's that,
Very good.
But Instagram is the place to keep up to date, I suppose.
That's great. It's been brilliant to talk to you. Thanks for joining us.
No, thanks for having me, guys. Good to see you both and have a chat to gallery people.
We'll keep up with you on Instagram and keep up to date with what you're up to.
Brilliant. Thanks very much, guys.
Thanks.